welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are a returning viewer, hey boo, hey. And if you are a new subscriber, I'm so happy you're here. Grab a snack, get comfortable. We are unpacking Dr. Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection. We have been here for a while and it's a lot to chew on. So you are more than welcome to start at this video, or you can start at the beginning of the WHOLEhearted Living series, or you can start at the last video, which is tagged below in the information box. Either way, the information is independent of one another. However, it does build upon each other. There's still time to purchase this book if you want to follow along with me. And even if you miss the entire book, you should still get this book because I think it's one that you would chew on for the rest of your life. So the last video that I posted was called Dear Perfectionist. And I just want to say to my viewers that my life was threatened, that a lot of my friends reached out to me and was like, so you just gonna make a video about me like that? And I chuckled because, you know, I got so into the video because it was triggering some areas in me. And then it wasn't until later, or like, you know, after rewatching it or talking about it in small circles, how much the video talks about a lot of my friends and family. And so I'm going to say, don't shoot the messenger. You know, Brene Brown's information is somewhere on this book. No, but I'm really happy that it resonated with a lot of you. I'm super appreciative of those moments, because that is essentially why I'm doing this. Even if it's for one person, like, I really still feel that fire about this. So it stirs me up to think that something I'm unpacking privately that I then bring to a public forum for discussion is just as impactful to you. And so even if the last video did not trigger you, if it did not touch on something specifically concerning you, I want to just encourage you to still tap in to the information that's being provided in this series, because I believe that an active participant of community, a person who is involved in their community, which means their circle of people whose lives that they're impacting, or people that they're doing life with, means that you have a toolbox that includes weapons and items that you may not always use, but people in your community may benefit from greatly. And so while I would not have considered myself a perfectionist, Brene Brown corrected that, and there are parts of me that are perfectionist. Someone else who that is a more pronounced attribute or characteristic of theirs will really benefit from me having the tools to encourage them to see life between looking at it from a perfected point of view to healthy striving, right? So all that to say, every video in this series, I do believe, provides you with tools that, if it doesn't directly benefit you, which it will in fact impact the people you are choosing to do life with, whether that be platonic or romantic. And so I want you to take on the mindset that you are gathering information not only for yourself, but for the people you want to be an asset to. Okay, so the last video was called Dear Perfectionism, and we talked about perfectionism and the mindset and the struggles that they have. We debunked a lot of myths about what perfectionism is, and we did not get around to the solution, or to talk about what you should do or how to like really change that behavior. And so this is kind of like a part 2 of the video. So let's get into it. So on page 59, Brene says, how do we keep perfectionism from sabotaging our efforts? So picking up from the perfectionism talk, okay? How do we keep perfectionism from sabotaging our efforts? She says that this was the question that she wanted an answer to. If we want to live and love with our whole hearts, how do we keep perfectionism from sabotaging our efforts? So she interviewed a bunch of men and women, and here's the solution she found. There were 2 things that she saw taking place, okay? The first thing is they spoke about their imperfections in a tender and honest way without shame and fear. So when I was reading this, I'm like, Nene, right? Because me and Brene, we on nickname terms at this point. I'm like, Nene, you're asking a perfectionist to admit to their imperfections. And initially, I'm like, that's so uncomfortable. But if we're going to be honest, this entire Wholehearted Living series is about doing the very thing that makes you uncomfortable to get to the place that you want to be so that you can live wholeheartedly. That means utilizing your entire heart. So plain and simple, because we're trying to change behavior, we're trying to get to the root of some things. If you are a perfectionist and you want to live and love wholeheartedly, one of the first things you have to begin practicing is speaking about your imperfections in a tender way and in an honest way without shame and fear. So this is where the previous videos about shame step into place, because now you have to use shame resiliency to support the behavior of, I'm about to admit to an imperfection that I have, and I need to make sure I'm presenting it in a way that carries me safely, because this is fragile, okay? The second thing you have to do, no sugarcoating, no fluffing, no pillows, it's just doing it, is be slow to judge yourself and those around you. So I hear these two requests, and I can hear how difficult this could be if this is how your mind works. But in changing your behavior, you have to, so like I'm gonna jump around a bit, but please follow me. So I am an omitter. I'm a recovering omitter, because I don't omit anymore, but that doesn't mean that behavior doesn't show its head sometimes, right? And so when I feel myself wanting to omit information, I have to pause and run through a couple quick things that I've learned, such as I'm worthy. There's nothing I can say right now that will make me unworthy. I love this person. I want to be in community with this person, and I don't want to distort their reality of me. I'm going to tell them the truth. With changing our behavior, especially how we talk about ourselves, talk to ourselves, we have to pause and think. I've learned that. I'm learning that because I can be very impulsive. I can be quick to speak. Sometimes I'm very passionate about what I feel, but how I feel is not always true. And so when I want to lie, when I want to omit something because shame is yelling louder than worthiness, I have to pause and run through those steps. And then I have to tell myself, you don't even like being lied to. So we're not doing that. So to my perfectionist, I share that because I want you to know that you're not in this alone with the discomfort that this mandate is asking of you. But when you feel yourself having a perfectionism streak or a moment where perfectionism is louder than vulnerability and honesty, I want you to say to yourself, I'm going to be tender in how I share that this is not perfect, though I want it to be. This is not perfect, though I want to be critical of myself. I want to let this person know that this is an imperfection that I'm working on and through, and I'm going to be tender about it. And I'm not going to judge myself because of it. On the flip side, when there are moments where I am projecting perfectionism onto someone else, meaning I am holding them to this ridiculous standard, I'm also going to run through those lenses in my mind to correct what I'm doing to them. And we're going to talk about that some more. So she says, so the men and women that she talked to, she had the first step, which was they spoke about their imperfections in a tender and honest way without shame and fear. The second thing was that they were slow to judge themselves and others. She said they appeared to operate from a place of, we're doing the best we can. People who combated perfectionism came from out of a place of, we're doing the best we can. So that's the mindset that they adopted. And I want to say this is such a helpful point or good way to think about it, because even in the world teaching us that perfectionism looks a lot like excellence, I think it's a little perverted now that I think about it out loud, because the reality is, it's not that it's excellence, it's that we should believe that this is the best that they can offer. That should just be a work ethic. Like, that should be something we do when we're passionate about whatever we're doing. We should want to give the best that we have in this time and place, not the best that we imagine, just this is my best, this is what I have for you, and this is me giving you everything I have right now. It may not be perfect, but it is the best that I have right now. We should also expect that from people that's not in a judgmental way. So one of the ways to combat judging someone is to give them the benefit of the doubt that we're both doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. I hope that makes sense. Because it just, for me. I think that also would make your relationships so much sweeter. To take a step back from this rubric and this calculation that you have in your mind, and to tell the people in your inner circle that you believe that they are doing the best they can, and you choose to believe that. Think of the weight you remove. To really believe that your people, because, this is something we want to apply to humanity, but definitely your people, they are doing the best they can in their relationships with you and in their personal endeavors towards, whatever they're striving for. And some perfectionists would be like, nah, you can do better than that. Absolutely. But is there another way to navigate that type of motivation? All right, let's keep going. She said, I wasn't sure how to capture these attributes, basically, of, those two things that the interviewers told Brene, and the fact that people were doing the best they can. And then she came across a researcher. Dr. Kristen Neff is a researcher and professor at the University of Texas at Austin, and she runs the Self-Compassion Research, lab, where they study how we develop and practice self-compassion. According to Dr. Neff, self-compassion has 3 elements. So this is essentially the solution to perfectionism. Outside of those 2 things, outside of the mindset of we're doing the best we can, is practicing self-compassion. What I love about what I'm about to break down is that it makes a lot of sense that a person who is a perfectionist, on the flip side, struggles with being self-compassionate. And if it's something we're not giving ourselves, my previous videos have already brought home that it's not something we can offer to other people. So perfectionists struggle with being compassionate with themselves, which probably make them the not so compassionate people in relationships, which I would not be surprised calls for really estranged relationships, or like really rigid spaces between people. Because when you are someone who projects perfectionism, how much of your relationship are they not sharing with you because it won't meet the mark, or they know that you're going to come with a rubric, and so now they can't practice self-compassion, or they're lying to you, or they don't feel worthy, and so there's a disconnect. Oh goodness, y'all. So Dr. Neff says self-compassion has 3 elements. The first one is self-kindness. Number 2, common humanity. And number 3 is mindfulness. Her abbreviated definitions for each of these are the following. Self-kindness, being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain. And I think I wrote over the words. And like overwhelming ourselves with self-criticism. Number 2, common humanity. Common humanity recognizes that suffering and feelings of personal inadequacy are part of the shared human experience, something we all go through rather than something that happens to me alone. I'm going to read that one more time. She says, common humanity recognizes that suffering and feelings of personal inadequacy are part of the shared human experience. Perfectionists, you're not the only people who feel inadequate. You're the only person who does it solo in your head. by yourself in a space that really depletes you. But everybody has moments of feeling inadequate. And I believe that once you share your inadequacy with people that's trustworthy, you'll find that you're not the only person who struggles with it, and you may have more tools to get out of it a lot sooner. Common humanity recognizes that suffering and feelings of personal inadequacy are part of the shared experience, something we all go through rather than something that happens to me alone. Number 3, my favorite, mindfulness. Mindfulness is taking a balanced approach, okay, to negative emotions so that feelings are never suppressed or exaggerated. We cannot ignore our pain and feel compassion for it at the same time. Yeah, sorry. Mindfulness requires that we not over-identify with thoughts and feelings so that we are caught up and swept away by negativity. It's a lot, I know. But you just have to revisit this video as often as you need to. Mindfulness is taking a balanced approach to negative emotions so that your feelings, the feelings you are experiencing, are neither suppressed, which means you're pushing them away, you're tucking them away, you're locking them away, you're not acknowledging them, or exaggerated. We don't want them to be suppressed, nor do we want you to blow them up as if they are more than what they really should be. We cannot ignore our pain and feel compassion for it at the same time. Mindfulness requires that we not over-identify with thoughts and feelings so that we are caught up and swept away by negativity. So, her example of how perfectionism works was that she sent an email to someone asking them, can she quote them in her book? The lady responded and said, yes, but don't use that paragraph because you spelled my name wrong. Brene, feeling like, oh my God, that was a dumb mistake. How dare I ask someone if I can use their quote in my book and spell their name wrong, was about to go through this imperfection, shame, rabbit hole. And then she had to stop herself for a minute. She had to be mindful and tell her, she said, be kind to yourself. This is not a big deal. But what she attached to it was that in this mistake, she felt like she was going to be judged by the author. And then she asked herself, how many times did she judge someone who spelled her name wrong in an email? Not practicing compassion, not practicing mindfulness to the feelings they may struggle with or the feelings she was having about her mistake, right? So nonetheless, in a nutshell, because I know this can be a lot, perfectionists, you have to work on self-compassion. You have to work on common humanity, mindfulness, and self-kindness. This is absolutely an inner work that has to take place before you can pour it out, okay? I want to read this closing paragraph to this section because it is offensive. It will cause you to say, ouch, but you need to hear it. We need to hear it. Perfectionism never happens in a vacuum. It touches everyone around us. We pass it down to our children. We infect our workplace with the impossible expectations, and it's suffocating for our friends and families. Thankfully, compassion also spreads just as quickly. I know, that ouch wasn't long, right? But it's necessary to hear because sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, sometimes we have an issue and we have to do an inner work and we can drag our feet because it's our issue, right? We coddle it and we own it and we treasure it. And it's like, but your issue is impacting your community. It's impacting your community because everything about you living wholeheartedly is tied to how you operate in your relationships. So, like I said, I keep using the liar one because it's like one of my easiest ones to go to. Me lying to someone, even if it's a small white lie, though I feel like in that moment I'm protecting their feelings, I'm really distorting the truth. And my credibility is on the line. And I clearly don't value my worthiness because worthiness tells lying, I don't have to do it. I don't have to lie because I belong here. And there's nothing I can say that would kick me out of this space, right? So perfectionists, I understand this is difficult. I understand this is probably even hard to process as being your issue because you always meet the mark. But I want to say to you with the sweetest of grace that you have to begin today, in the next conversation you have, in the next interaction you have with someone, practicing self-compassion with those who you are doing life with, for those you desire to do life with, to be able to admit to them, I'm not perfect. This is an area I'm working on, and being tender about it. Actually, common humanity, understanding in those moments where you want to be judgmental, we are doing the best we can because it trickles and impacts everyone you come into contact with. Everyone, from your workspace to your relationships to your children, because the energy and the standard that you set for yourself, you set for other people who may not struggle with perfectionism, but will strive to be perfect because you're in their life. And if they want you there, and if they're not sure of their worth, they will hustle for your worthiness. So your decision, your behavior of being a perfectionist does impact other people. And this is for every series, but this one just makes more sense because it's like difficult to break down this like rubric, I guess, this benchmark that has been created. But she says, thankfully, compassion also spreads quickly. It spreads just as fast. So don't hoard over the damage you think you've done. Don't hoard over the representation that you've put out there. I want you to focus on the fact that if you wanted to, you could start this compassion journey now, and it will, like fire, it will do the same thing. It will have the same impact. You practicing self-compassion and compassion for others teaches other people to do the same thing, okay? Thankfully, compassion also spreads quickly. When we're kind to ourselves, we create a reservoir of compassion that can extend to others. Our children learn how to be self-compassionate by watching us, and the people around us feel free to be authentic and connected. All right? So we're going to stop right there. I'll see you on Thursday. As always, thank you for watching and for sharing, liking, and commenting. If this video has impacted you in any way, I would really appreciate it if you share it on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your Instagram, and in your text messages. Send this video to 3 people. 3 people right now. 3 people. That's not a lot. Just say, hey, this video was fire. I want you to watch it. Okay? All right, y'all. See you next video. Bye.